Welcome to the very first episode of the podcast. My name is Kevin Votzek. I'm a filmmaker with a passion for directing and cinematography. So in this episode, I want to talk about my unorthodox journey to becoming a filmmaker. And then we're also going to hit what you can expect from me and this podcast. Who am I and what am I doing? I'm a freelance editor and a freelance cinematographer. Right now, I'm working on some promotional videos for some businesses. I have a shoot in a couple of weeks. I edit for a couple production companies in San Diego. I am a part of a web series called Theater Corner. It is now an award-winning web series called Theater Corner. Just won a Telly Award. And you can see it right behind me if you're watching on YouTube. It's this silver angel looking thing. But if you're listening remotely, you'll just have to take my word for it. Okay, moving on. I also run a blog called the Filmmakers Blog. Easy enough. That's more of a passion project that I do just for me and as my kind of outlet and hobby. I wouldn't really consider that work. It's just kind of fun to make videos for you guys, as well as I'm starting this podcast as a branch of that blog. And then lastly, I am a filmmaker. So I'm happy to announce that I will be working on an independent film next month, all the way in Oklahoma. If you live in Oklahoma, you're like, that doesn't seem very far away. But I live in San Diego, so it will be a beautiful 20-hour drive to the heat of Oklahoma. And we're going to be in a small town called Norman. Shout out to anyone who's in Norman. I don't think anyone is, though. So that's what I do right now. I'm very much in the freelance industry in terms of picking up gigs as they come, as well as being my own mini production company in a way. It's not really official in any business terms. I don't have an LLC or anything, but right now my production company is called Kevin Makes Videos for People, and that's exactly what I do. So like I said, I want to share how I got into filmmaking. And if you relate or if you feel moved or inclined, I'd love to know how you fell into filmmaking. During this episode, if you feel inclined, just email me at kevin@thefilmmakersblog.com and let me know your story. Growing up, I never thought that I would be a filmmaker, which I thought was odd because usually when it comes to the arts, you get a passion for the art at a young age. I feel like a lot of people I talked to knew that they loved video and made videos growing up. But also some are like me that didn't quite really know what they wanted to do and stumbled on video as an art form and eventually used it as a way of expressing themselves. So for me, I really never wanted to touch a camera growing up, but I did make some home videos. There were some extremely cringy home videos. If you've been around since the beginning of the Filmmakers Blog YouTube channel and saw my first couple videos, this doesn't even compare to the cringiness that was those videos. This is far, far worse. And this all started when my cousin Juliana got a digital camcorder way, way back when digital camcorders were the absolute bomb. And we didn't even have any editing software. So if we made a video, all of the edits were done in camera just by hitting record and stopping it. And I really remember this one video we did a full reenactment of the movie Ghost that has Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore in it. Almost a full reenactment. Obviously, the movie has a runtime of an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm not sure what it is. And our rendition was about 20 minutes. So it was extremely condensed. But I remember doing that when I was around, I think, 5 or 6, I'd say. And man, I was a god-awful actor. I was supposed to be the bad guy. And I was so bad that you can hear my cousin whisper the lines to me as I'm speaking them, because she's holding the camera. So you can hear it in the internal microphone, and then I'll say the line right after. And she would also give me stage directions. And I remember this one time I was supposed to leave the room. So she was like, "Now leave." And I said, now leave. And everyone just busted up laughing. And I didn't know what was going on at first, but then I finally got it that I'm not supposed to say that. I'm supposed to actually physically leave the room. But even though I had a lot of fun doing those videos, and they were always a good laugh, and they still are a good laugh, and should probably never be seen again by anybody else but family. I never really thought that it would be a career path. And I never thought of video other than making fun videos with my family every summer when they would come into town. I spent most of my time playing baseball. I had an extreme love for the sport, still do. And I played all the time. Summer, spring, fall, baseball was life at that point in my life. It was life at that point in my life. Great description, Kevin. Anyway, during my high school years, baseball started to fall off for me. I got an injury. My numbers weren't as good as they used to be. And the sport continued without me. And I started to realize that I probably would not be able to make it to the next level of play. And at that point in my life, college applications were happening. So it was coming into senior year of high school, and I had to fill out applications. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to do math. I knew I didn't want to do science. But throughout my entire life, all I wanted to do was play baseball. So making that leap from kind of ignoring future careers to having to pick one was really tough. And I didn't know what to do. But while I was looking on the majors list for these college applications, I saw film. And I was like, oh, I've had a lot of fun making video. I don't really know what I want to do. I'm not even sure what it takes to actually make a film and all the roles and what you need to understand, what you need to know. But hey, it seems like a good time. And that's kind of how I went into it. I picked film because I felt like, hey, I'd have a good time. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. But I only applied to 2 schools for film school. I applied to San Diego State and I applied to San Marcos. As I was waiting for those, I was still picking my classes for my senior year of high school, and I saw a film appreciation class on there. I thought, hey, this would be a good fit. I mean, I'm going to be a film major. You know, I wrote down I was going to be a film major, and this is a good way to maybe put some knowledge together before I went to college by taking this film appreciation class in high school. Well, that was one of the best decisions of my life, because that class is what really inspired me to become a filmmaker. And that class made me confident that I picked the right major. That class was a ball of fun. Really, most of the time we saw movies, and that's why I really wanted to be in there. But more than that, we broke down movies, why they worked, and the art behind the picture that we saw on screen. And after that class, I was so excited to go be a film major. I was excited to make my first film. So that was a really quick synopsis of how I fell into filmmaking, almost by accident at first. But then after learning about the art and seeing how I could express myself on film, and then actually starting to do it in college, I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with being on set. I fell in love with telling stories, writing, directing, editing. I learned it all. I wanted to know everything, and I think it's really important that everyone knows a little bit of everything to become a well-rounded filmmaker. Because whether you're directing, whether you're shooting, or even if you're more on the logistical side, and whether you're a producer, it's great to know how things work. One example is editing. As a director, you kind of need to edit the scene in your mind because you're providing coverage of the scene. And if you don't know or don't have an idea of how you're going to put it all together, or how someone could put it all together, how are you expected to know how to shoot it? And that goes for cinematographers, because sometimes directors stick just with the actors and their performance and leave all of the shooting and all of that decision making to the cinematographer. And it's good to know how something would edit when you're shooting. And that's just one example of being a well-rounded filmmaker. So there it is. Now I'm a filmmaker, and I kind of skipped over my entire college career and all of that good stuff, but that is going to be the rest of the series. This is just an intro video just to get you familiar with me, just to get you familiar with the podcast, but there's going to be a lot of episodes moving forward about actually filmmaking and about actually what happens on set, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's talk about the podcast. What can you expect in future episodes? Well, like I said, you can expect the film school experience. And most importantly, was it worth it? I feel like a lot of people on YouTube and just in general argue if film school is still relevant, with directors like Christopher Nolan, who has, made it to the highest of peaks in the film industry and never went to film school. Is film school still relevant, or could you get the same education on YouTube or even through online courses from masters? Masterclass has really been delivering all kinds of online courses. So is that route better than film school? There's no doubt that some of those routes are insanely cheaper, but is it better? Also, in later episodes, we're going to get to how to create films, how I created my films, and some tips and techniques and technical talk on filmmaking. And then, obviously, we're going to hit all of those hilarious and unbelievable stories from wilderness all-nighters in freezing temperatures, lead actors quitting before their call time, and accidentally casting a schizophrenic. All that and more. But this podcast is going to be bi-weekly. I don't want to stretch it too far and not be able to stay consistent, because I am still going to continue my regular YouTube content, whether it's tutorials or the new cinematography of videos. But also, if you liked this podcast or feel you've connected with any of my episodes, please give it a review on the podcast app. It is a purple app, probably somewhere in your phone. Just do the search all function to find it. Reviews really help the rankings of the podcast. And if you feel inclined, I'd love your support. So that was the intro to the Want the Film podcast, a shorter episode than normal, but I want to thank you for listening, and we'll catch up in a couple weeks.